The following program will make you want to grow things and experience new and wonderful dreams about your plants, garden, and garden design. Listener participation is always strongly advised. Good evening and welcome to Down the Garden Path with your hosts Joanne Shaw and Matthew Dressing, right here on Reality Radio 101. To get on board this evening with your comments, questions, send us an email right now. Our email address is instudio101@gmail.com. And now, ladies and gentlemen, right to your hosts of Down the Garden Path, Joanne Shaw and Matthew Dressing.
Welcome to Down the Garden Path, where we discuss down-to-earth tips and advice for your plants, gardens, and landscapes. As landscape designers and gardeners, we think it is important and possible to have great gardens that are low maintenance, and we want to help you make it happen. I am Joanne Shaw, landscape designer and owner of Down to Earth Landscape Design. I have been designing beautiful gardens and landscapes for homeowners east of Toronto for over a decade. With me across Zoom is my co-host, Matthew Dressing. Welcome, Matthew.
Good evening, Joanne. Good evening, Gary. Welcome, everyone. I am Matthew Dressing, horticulturist and landscape designer and owner of Natural Affinity Garden Design. Natural Affinity is a landscape design and garden maintenance firm servicing Toronto and the Eastern GTA. Joanne and I enjoy hosting Down the Garden Path each week, bringing you interesting, relevant, and helpful topics to help you achieve a great garden. We learn right along with you from each other, from our research, and from the guests that join us here on the show. As always, we welcome your questions via social media, email, or phone call.
That's right. And we want to thank everyone who's joining us here live on Reality Radio 101 and the recording of Down the Garden Path. You can always check out past shows of Down the Garden Path on your favorite podcast app as well. So if you're new to us, we've got years of content, right? Just look for Down the Garden Path on your favorite podcast app. And while you're there, please subscribe so that you're notified of new content. And please share and like our show. Share and tell somebody else about it. Right, Matt?
That's right. That is right.
Yeah. So it's Monday in October.
What a Monday.
I know.
Well, gardens are wrapping up. It's getting cooler here in the GTA. How is your garden going? Another year under its proverbial belt?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's doing really well. I did get out and move a few perennials around and plant a few new shrubs that I'm going to test out. So I think it's doing pretty well. I planted some evergreens kind of a little late in the season, so I was giving them some extra water the weekend because we didn't get the rain that they were calling for. But we've had some rain in the last couple of days. So yeah, I think overall my garden is doing well. Lots of
Nice.
fall color. I'm super excited. Like my Japanese maple last year that just dried up and didn't even turn color. And now has gone red from gold. It's my gold Japanese maple and it's gone red. So that's been lovely. So yeah. So I'm feeling good about it. I brought in, per our show from a few weeks ago, I brought in slowly moving in all the house plants that I want to keep. I have a few more that to find a home for, or I might have to compost them, which I don't want to do. But yeah, so overall, feeling good.
Nice. What are some of the shrubs that you're looking forward to testing putting to the test that you planted?
It's that limetta, the one that we
Oh yeah,
discovered.
Limeta.
Yeah, limetta. So I'm excited. I bought three of those because I think it's almost going to be like a ground cover ish. So it's an Annabelle hydrangea, but it's a smaller version, right? 2.5 feet
Yeah,
tall, and so it just gets a little bit of afternoon sun, and I'm excited.
yeah,
Yeah, to get
yeah. That one should be good. Yeah, I'm excited to see how that goes in your garden. Yeah, yeah, the Invincible series and all the Annabelles are getting lots of new cultivars lately, which is
hmm
which is quite fantastic. So
Yeah, I've been really unhappy with my Annabelle. The moth that attacks it has really made it not as showy, and we had some windows installed so that on the ladder damage and stuff. So I have been
uh,
hearing good things. So I haven't been able to test it in my own gardens, but I've heard from other designers that the new Incrediballs are actually really improved for the Annabelle, and so I've been specing those for some of my installs in the fall. A couple that are going on right now. So I'm looking forward to seeing how those turn out, and I may end up taking out my Annabelles and putting in Incrediballs in the spring. I just wasn't sure. Are you familiar? Like, because it's still an Annabelle hydrangea, so I would think that the moth would still affect it.
yeah, there's still a possibility the moth might go after that group for
Yeah,
sure.
yeah, for
Yeah,
sure. But I should have done some is it BTK? BTK.
the
What's the
BTK, yeah. So the Bacillus thuringiensis, and I forget what the K stands for, but it's
okay?
that subspecies of
If you can't
bacteria.
remember, I'm not remembering.
Yeah. Yeah. So as they come up and they start to knit it with their mouth parts, that bacteria they would ingest, and it would. The idea is that it'll kill them there as they crawl up and knit them all together in the early spring. So
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. Yeah, and the Incredibles. Wow, if you haven't seen the Incredibles, definitely everyone listening, take a look. We at the garden center, we cannot keep them in stock at all
Really?
ever. Um, they are just flying out, just flying out. Like you said, the improved blooming, that thicker upright stem that's been bred into them,
That's
and
key, right?
which is huge, exactly, because everyone. They like Annabelle, but one of the main complaints is that they just flop over as they get old.
Yeah, but usually that's it is a pruning issue, right? People are pruning
And
at the right time.
exactly.
So really it's user error. So you can't blame that on the Annabelle. But
Mm.
so even if people cut the Incredible back, they'll be okay.
Yeah, the idea is that they would be okay with the thicker stem. But I mean, if you're cutting it back so far every year, you've got such green stem that you're always going to have a little bit more flexibility than you would if you
Right.
didn't, right?
Right.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah,
Right.
yeah.
So that's good.
So
What else
favorite
is
fall
happening
weather.
at the garden center?
It is slowing down. Lots of sales. We are in that dead time. We've got
Mhm.
between, Christmas and
Halloween and
Halloween
Thanksgiving.
and fall, and yeah, that kind of weird fall time. So lots of shrubs and perennials that are on sale. Lots of things to still get. We are actually, believe it or not, there's still a little bit of new stuff still just trickling in to the garden center. Some of more of the staples that everybody are after, right? Like your burning bush and stuff like that.
Mhm.
But yeah, there's still lots to be had. Don't be discouraged if they've lost their leaves in your garden center, depending on where you are and what time of year it is. Looking for those buds that are on the shrubs and the trees, and take a look at those perennial root balls that are slowly fattening up and have a nice year's growth in there. That will come through the winter nicely, and that's what you're really going to end up buying. So, yeah,
Mhm.
it's very slow. Christmas is in full swing. I can't believe it because it's not even the end of October. We're not even
Mhm.
Halloween,
We say that every year though.
right? I just,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. How about bulbs and garlic bulbs? Like, do you have garlic still?
We are just about to run out of garlic. That window is closing. And then the rest of the bulbs, we've got some tulips and some odd ones here, but most of the alliums are gone. The garlic is very low. Some tulips here. I think all the daffodils for us are gone. So a lot of the staples are gone. There's a little bit of bulk
Oh.
left.
Mhm.
So it's kind of some of the everyday stuff, but some of the unusual stuff or the fun stuff is kind of gone.
Yeah, I've left it too late for the garlic. If I go to the garlic at the farmer's market tomorrow, can I use their garlic?
Yeah, grab one of their garlics. Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, that's what I did. Um, what did I get? I think it was the Mohawk. It's one of the red varieties of garlic, like the Russian red type thing. And it came through. I had a couple of those make it through on the balcony. So
Okay.
yeah,
Good.
yeah,
Excellent. Excellent.
yeah.
Well, I'm excited. I know we hope our listeners enjoyed last week's. It was our holiday, it was our Thanksgiving for our
Yeah,
US listeners, Canadian Thanksgiving. So Matt and I enjoyed some turkey. And we let you listen to last year's COVID-free October in the Garden. But this month, we are still wanting to continue our. I know our show from 2 weeks ago was a great show with the girls from the with the ladies from Earth Feels podcast, right?
that's right. That's right.
So yeah. So what's up for the rest of the next couple episodes?
Yeah, like you said, as we continue through our month of October, we continue our adventure into waters many dare not tread, climate change and our environmental impact. So, from what climate change is and what we can do to help slow it down, to gardening in the ever changing climatic conditions that we have, we're going to continue the conversation that a lot of people may find, a little hot buttoned. But tonight we're going to continue the conversation with ideas to help us around the house. So, what we can do as everyday people in our households to, curb that impact. So,
Yeah,
if
you and I were just talking about how, sorry, I cut you off. How it's, it can seem like a really big an issue.
yeah,
But I think if there are ways to break it down to individuals. So yeah, so that's what I'm really looking forward to, some of the stuff that we found out there. Yeah, to kind of chat, and we want to hear from our listeners, right? Which is what you were just about to say. So I'll be quiet.
that's what I was going to say. That's okay though. Yeah, I was going to say, want to join the conversation, have some experiences or some tips and tricks you'd like to share with us on how you fight climate change or help you reduce your carbon footprint and whatnot. We'd love to hear from you. So you can write us here in studio 101 at gmail.com. Yeah, and we would love to discuss here where you're from, what zone you're in, and
Mm.
what you like to do to help reduce your waste and your carbon footprint.
Yeah, yeah. Like so, Matt and I'll be upfront and say we just had a guest that couldn't make it, so we, kind of brainstormed some ideas on what we can talk about because we are not experts and we're not claiming to be experts. We just
Yeah,
really want to help have a conversation. And I know in looking for a replacement, I did a bunch of looking for other podcasters and other people in our community that could speak on it, and I was really shocked at how hard that was. Because I know, again, it's in the news and it's in social media a bit and stuff like that. But actually, there were some that looked like really good podcasts, but they were in Ireland and in England and things like that. So that was really, I think I go to all like the cool, funny names. But anyway, and some had been, they hadn't produced new shows in the last couple of years, that type of thing. So we know it's a gardening show. It's about landscape design. It's about what to do in your garden. We're definitely here for you for that always. But as gardeners, of people that work in the industry, that people that work outside, that the climate impacts our jobs. Um, we just feel like with this voice, we want to, start a conversation about it. So that's what we're trying to do, right?
that's right. Uh, yeah, and I think Christine and Rose said it last week too. So many people, they think about it, they feel so overwhelmed about it, but nobody really wants to talk so much about it in fear of, being wrong or I don't know if they just that overwhelming feeling and just it seems to be so touchy with some people. So
Hmm.
yeah, so just continuing the conversation where others seem to be reluctant. So we should
Yeah,
all
yeah,
be
and we really want to hear from you. Like, do you really want us I mean, we want to talk about it, but
yeah.
is it something that you're interested in as well? Is there a certain, we're looking up to for future shows, to talk about solar, just because I think some of it, there's so much misinformation out there or lack of information. So I think
Yeah.
finding out more about it. So we're researching some stuff like solar, that type of thing. So we definitely love to know what you are interested in, what you want to hear more about. We would love that feedback. Did you want it just related to the house, the garden? Did you want it to be saving, ways to save money, that type of thing? So yeah, so we'd love to hear more about what you are interested in as well as we kind of research future shows.
That's right. That's right. You can always write us here at instudio101 at gmail.com. Let us know. But you can reach Joanne and I anytime. You can find me, Matthew, at naturalafinitydesigns.ca and Joanne at down the number two earth.ca and share your ideas and thoughts. And we love just to hear from you and chat with you.
That's right. That's
Speaking
right.
of hearing from people,
Mm.
um, I'm going to say Liza. Liza, sorry if I pronounce it wrong. But Liza writes in, "Hi, Joanne and Matthew. Loving the show as usual. No questions tonight. Just wanted to remind you that K stands for potassium in gardening language. Stay well, Liza." And yes, thank you, Liza. I think we were just talking about the biological insecticide called BTK, and
Oh,
I remembered that BT is Bacillus thuringiensis, but I did forget that the K stands for the variety Kurstaki, Kurstaki. So,
there you
and I
go.
think that's where we were kind of like in the K, whatever that stands for. But yes, it does stand for potassium, that
All
NBK.
right.
So where should we start our big journey?
Yeah, I know. There's so much to talk about. I know as I do that. Um,
That's okay. Well,
yeah, I mean, I think, well, first we could start off by talking about coincidentally here in
yes.
Canada. It is in Canada, so the whole country. So, U.S. listeners, stay tuned. It is Waste Reduction Week. So I mean, I think that is a great place to start. We all have waste. We all create more waste than we intend to create. So yeah, so there's been quite a bit on social media today, some on the news that I listened to this morning. What I caught was something that we wanted to talk about as well was e-waste. And I know I'm sure everybody's got that drawer or that box that's sitting somewhere of all the stuff that they're gonna like get to the e-waste place or wait till there's wait till they get there. Or there's stuff, and they talked about that today too about um, cell people are hesitant to recycle, let's say, old cell phones because of the personal data on it
Mm,
and that type of thing. So I didn't know if our listeners knew that my son works at Best Buy. So Best Buy actually takes back e-waste, and I don't know that that was commonly known, that you can take your e-waste to them. The company, which I wrote down, Matt, recyclemyelectronics.ca.
yep.
So has 22. So according to the news this morning, which was very timely, has 2,200 locations, drop-off locations across Canada. They 100% promise that they will. So no personal like they make sure that it's securely destroyed, and they actually have a goal of 90% of the material that they receive is reprocessed. So they are
Wow.
able, I know they're able, considering like we've heard with some recycling stuff, like it's only 30% that actually gets recycled.
Yes.
So they are at 90%. Things like, he talked about, because we all think of cell phones and computers, but wires, chargers. I think of how many chargers we have laying around at home.
Oh yeah.
All those wires inside can be reused and recycled. Printers, old gaming devices, headphones, that type of thing. So yeah, they retrieve the copper, the gold, the silver. They get that all out. The plastics, they reduce it to pellets.
Mm,
So that's how they process it. And then those pellets are then sold to become other recyclables. So it's a great way to kind of keep reusing the same material. So yeah, so I mean, we tend to do that. We let it kind of pile up and we have a box of, e-waste until we either go to the dump which recycles. I shouldn't call it the dump. We call it the dump in our house, but it's like a recycling facility. Or if I can make my son take them to work with him, which doesn't always happen. But anyway, so yeah. So how are you with your e-waste?
I definitely have um, like phones and chargers and old headphones because I think, yeah, a lot of people just don't know where to go with them.
Hmm.
Does the e-waste, I just totally forgot, recyclemyelectronics.ca, did they say, do they do batteries? I think that's my biggest thing is you
Oh,
get these batteries and there's all the chemicals and the metals in them that you can
what
just
kind of
throw out.
batteries? Like, what do you mean?
Yeah, like just like Duracells, like double A's,
Oh,
triple A's.
well,
Uh,
doesn't
mm,
Oshawa? You're in Oshawa. Or you're in Whitby. Sorry.
I'm in Oshawa,
Okay.
but my condo doesn't have that kind of specialized
Oh,
recycling thing. So
okay.
people who might be in a condo, I don't know if in places like Toronto or New York City or something like that, they have just that kind of that service that
Yeah.
comes to their building.
Yeah, because Pickering actually has it twice a year, April and November. So mine is next week, is this week. So if you can get me your batteries by Thursday, Matt, I can put it out.
Ooh.
Yeah, we put out in a bag and we label it off to the side, and they pick it up. So it happens twice a year, April. So we kind of save all of our batteries in a spot in our house that gets recycled. So I'm just looking at my recycling. What did I say it was called? Um, yeah, to see if they do that. Recycle my electronics.
Yeah,
Um, yeah, but
and we even have a special bag from the city that has all about just recycle your batteries, don't throw them out, why they're bad, et cetera, et cetera. So our bag is finally full after many years and Christmases and
and
other
where does it say to
electronics.
take the bag then?
It doesn't actually. It has just like the Oshawa website on it, and I think it's just assuming that you're gonna have service to your house, that
Oh,
like every
okay.
twice a year. Because I know heading into work, there's a sign that the city of Whitby is going to do it shortly as well,
Mm-hmm.
if it's this week or next week.
Yes. Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah, so the Recycle My Electronics website is .ca, and it is across Canada. So you click on your province, and it'll tell you where drop-offs are within your province. So electronics recycling in Ontario. So yeah, as for us here, what can I recycle? So I was just clicking to see if he didn't when they asked him today, he did not say batteries. So I do not see it here. So I think batteries are definitely a different beast. But there's got to be yeah. So I think finding out when it's in, I mean, even though your building doesn't do it, but I think you can, I wouldn't see why you couldn't give it to a neighbor. Like, you know what I mean? Give it to somebody
yeah,
else, right? In your neighborhood, what do they care? As long as it's in the bag and it's, marked properly, that kind of thing. So,
yeah,
yeah.
just quietly tack it on overnight, just by
That's
my
right.
neighbors.
That's right. That's right. So yeah. So I'd love to hear from our listeners. Like, if there's anybody, if you e-waste, any questions you have there. Yeah. And Matt says looks like we've got a couple of I was gonna say a couple of callers, no callers, but
Oh,
a couple of emails.
email line one, we've got Peter. He says, "Hello, happy belated Thanksgiving to you up there in Canada. Uh, I'm from Yonkers, New York. Recycling and the environment is very important. We tend to waste a lot of things. We are a one of society in the world. We need to stop and think about what we throw out. Thank you for your show, and thanks for talking about this very important issue." Well, thank you, Peter.
Yes, thank you very much. Yeah, we were talking before the show with Gary, right, about how I think North America we're a little behind the game compared to some countries, I think, because of how much space we have. Like, we can keep, we've got lots of space for the garbage. We've got lots of space for the stuff. So where, other countries that are small and really have to figure out, I think those people have just grown up with a reuse, recycle, repurpose, mentality, right?
Yeah, that's right.
So,
Um, Shane has written in. Funny, Joanne. We still call the dump. I mean, after all, we are dumping all of our recyclables. Love the
Yeah.
show.
Yeah, I mean, we call it the dump, but I know there is a place where you put your garbage, and there's a place for e-waste, and there's a place for the chemicals, right? The paint and things like that. So I try to, when I'm going, I try to like, okay, what else? Like, what other paint cans do we like? If I'm going to wait in that line, I want to make sure I get rid of as much as I can get rid of. But it is, yeah, it's a term, I guess, for my kids.
I still call it the dump.
Do you? Okay,
Yeah.
okay, yeah.
Oh, gotta go to the
So,
dump. What do we got?
yeah.
Okay.
I thought it was really impressed to hear that they can get that much, like 90%.
That's huge.
Yeah,
That's huge.
that is huge. That's huge. And I'm proud of Best Buy. Like, I think that's great that someplace where you're buying electronics, you can also get rid of your old electronics, that type of thing. And it's good to know that you can do so safely. I know he was saying that, often people with computers that they may drill through the hard drive, that type of thing, if they want to be extra confident that it's going to be done securely. Um, you know, that kind of thing. So yeah, so that's good. But I know we've got, like, I opened my drawer looking for something a few minutes ago and found my old iPhone. That
Yes.
and I'm sure how many of us probably have like an old iPod, right? Like laying around, that kind of thing, because we don't know what to do with it.
Yeah.
Hey,
So yeah,
could I interject in here?
sure,
For
Yes.
absolutely, Gary.
as an engineer and a producer,
Mm.
I've learned a lot over the years and taken courses and things. A lot of the old phones, remember this, folks. Number one, you can still use that phone, even though it's not pixelated as like a lot of pixels. You can still use those phones, keep them charged as cameras, backup cameras,
Hmm.
all
Mm.
that. Secondly, usually, depending upon the phone, you can still use an old phone when there's Wi-Fi. You won't
Mm.
get you won't get
Oh.
you won't be able to a lot of call out without a SIM card and all that kind of thing
Hmm.
because it's not registered with a carrier. But a lot of phones, not all, SIM card or not, if you are in a home with an old phone and they have Wi-Fi, you can log into that through your phone software and use that phone as to go online and everything. But once you leave that Wi-Fi, of course, everything will die, right?
Hmm.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
so there's things, I know a lot of people that carry their nice phone with them and for pictures, but they always keep it charged, another phone, an old phone, so they can use it for Wi-Fi or as a backup camera for pictures and video.
Hmm.
Because the
Yeah.
phone does not have to be registered and or not through any company to use it as a phone or to use it as a camera. So just
Okay.
remember
Yeah.
that before you're ready to recycle. And then when you are, of course, recycle properly.
Yeah, yeah. And that would probably be good for kids too, Gary. Like, if you just want your child's not old enough to really
That's
need a
right.
cell phone, but if they just want something to play like games on or something like that at
That's right.
home,
You can do it.
then they can use it on Wi-Fi, but that's about it. So it's a great way for parents to have I think, a bit more control.
And that's exactly what we did with my nephews and niece. They see all of us on a cell phone, and they want to play the games on the cell phone. So when we all upgraded, we kept our cell phones and gave them to them, and they can use the house Wi-Fi to
That's
play their
right.
games or take
Hmm.
pictures or do whatever. And then Gary, like you were saying, yeah, definitely. And then there's even an app that if you Google, just like your Google Play Store or whatever carrier you're with, there's actually an internet phone, so that as long as you're on Wi-Fi, you can use an app to make a phone call over the internet itself.
Oh, okay.
That's
And
great.
I find there's a little bit of an echo when you connect with a non-internet phone, like a regular cell phone or a landline. But
Mhm.
you could even do that on Wi-Fi too. Yeah.
Yeah.
So lots of use out of those.
That's right. Yeah, I think there's lots of ways to use it, and I think if more people knew how much, 90%, that's a lot of raw material that then gets reprocessed back into new products. So I know myself, if I was to go room by room and kind of fill up a box, it would probably be, even though I will say dump a few weeks ago, I still know we have more kind of hidden on shelves and things like that. That's the thing about those iPods. They were so tiny, right? They don't take up a ton of space.
No.
So yeah, so that is good. So yeah, I wanted to share that. So again, it's for Canadian listeners, it is recyclemyelectronics.ca. Check it out.
Mm. Yeah, it looks like a very informative,
Hmm.
interesting website.
Yeah,
And
it does.
yeah, I quickly Googled the same thing to see if there's a comparable website for our US listeners, and I didn't see anything specific. There was one link that was looked like it was going to talk about it, but it was broken, so
Mm.
I wouldn't want to say it. But I think, like Gary was saying too, each of the states and the counties will do stuff differently. It's up to that municipality, so definitely
Yeah,
check in with your state or your county, and
yeah.
as far as their bylaws and everything and
Just
their
like us with the
recommendations.
batteries, right? Like it's really
Yeah,
like a municipality thing with their batteries. So definitely take a look. And or I mean, I'm assuming if Best Buy Canada is taking their e-waste, then I'm assuming that Best Buy US is doing the same. So if
yeah,
all else fails, that's a good place to go.
yeah. They'll know what they do and don't take, and probably can recommend somewhere to go.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah.
So, in addition to e-waste, what else did we want to
E-waste.
talk about?
What else can we do? Well, we have solar power. We can convert to solar power or to
Hmm.
other things. Thinking about batteries. Go ahead.
No, that is something. I mean, you or neither one of us know anything about that. So, I was put in touch with someone who does. So that is definitely. I'm
Oh,
excited for a future show. I love, like, again, if we have a listener who is in that or who has done that type of thing, then I'd love. To hear from them. I think it's more common now. Like, remember when, well, again, we're different age, but like when you see a house with like solar panels on the roof, you were like, whoa, but they were big and so they've come a long way.
they are.
So definitely, I definitely am really looking forward to learning more about it. But I don't know how much you and I can speak to.
No, not really. And I just kind of came up to just kind of connecting to batteries. Sometimes you can get those LED solar flashlights that you can leave in a windowsill to charge, and then they give you a really long battery life. I've had a couple of those. They work great. And then I also once heard about a program. I forget who was doing it, but I think it was aligned with the government of Ontario for a while. But there was a company that would go and install uh, solar panels on your house, but all the excess you would have to give back to them and feed back into the grid. So you could live off the grid, and the energy that your house generated, but then they were taking whatever you didn't use and putting it back into the Ontario grid, and that's kind of how they were
Yeah, I
paying
think I
for it.
want to
But
say bullfrog, but
okay,
that definitely is something. So yeah, we definitely been put into touch with somebody. So I hope that you guys are as curious about that as we are.
yes,
Because
I'd
I
like.
I looked at it too for like even heating the pool.
Hmm,
Because we just long story short, we just don't do a solar blanket or anything. So we heat the pool, and so it would be nice if there was a way. I just think that's such a huge market to heat the pool. If you could have a solar blanket on the fence or solar panel on the fence or on a shed or on a pool house, that type of thing,
yeah.
that could help you lower that. So I think there's a huge market. I'm just curious as somebody filling that market, and what's involved there. So yeah, so that's something that we're both kind of keen to learn more about. But tonight, can't really say much, can we?
No, the one thing I'm interested in, I've seen with the solar power, I've heard is that they're turning into the solar cells are almost becoming transparent. So the thought is that they can turn the transparent solar cells into office windows or window like
Mm.
panes and glass to replace them so that your windows are actually generating electricity for your building or your house or whatever. So I'd like
Wow.
to maybe that guest knows a little bit more about that.
Hmm.
But what else is on our list? We had reducing plastic use, and immediately when I think of reducing plastic use, I can no longer look at those 250 or 500 ml water bottles without thinking about you, and just that craziness there. But
Yeah.
oh,
Yeah. I mean, I think that's huge. I think more and more, I mean, yeah, when I see people with those cases for $2 of
oh,
all that water, I don't know. I don't understand it.
I don't
Um,
get it.
I don't get it. And so plastic, yeah. So I just wondered if, But even more beyond that, like that to me is very obvious. But I think
Yes.
of, are people trying to buy like loose peppers as opposed to the three peppers that are shrink wrapped together in a styrofoam
Yeah.
tray? Or I did see something on the news where they're finally putting cucumbers in compostable how they have to wrap the English cucumbers in a plastic, and our family's brutal. We kind of joke about I'm buying it just for it to go bad in the fridge so that I can recycle it, compost it.
We do that
So,
too.
so when I saw that go past my feet, I'm like, yay, the plastic will compost, because oozing that out of the plastic, is always gross. So so I just wonder if people are rethinking their plastic use. I know I've been really trying not to even use the plastic bags at the grocery store.
Yes.
Some stores, Costco, shout out to Costco, they've made those bags compostable. So
Yes.
we will then use those bags in our little compost. Um, so that's great. But otherwise, I just put on my loose peppers on the conveyor belt and my loose apples on the conveyor belt and drive my children crazy because I don't want to use those plastic bags. So anyway, so I'd love it
Exactly.
again to hear more. Looks like we've got some listener questions or
Well,
comments.
we do have one that came in, but I was kind of signaling to Joanne as you were saying the shout out to Costco. Actually, a lot of people don't realize that at our garden center, our trunk liners as well as our t-shirt bags or the regular plastic bags are number two recyclable. So when you're done with them, you can just chuck them in your blue bin. And
Really?
yeah, and the bags say that they are recyclable but also biodegradable. But then the trunk liners are all just straight out recyclable.
Okay,
So,
that's
which is
great to
always good
know.
too. Yeah.
Hmm.
And then we do have a listener, as I put up my hand. Yola writes in, hello, longtime listener here from Long Beach, California. Hello, Yola, and thank you for listening.
Yes, thank you.
Um, my uncle actually has solar panels on his house that were put up there in the early 90s, still up there. He has no hydro bill at all from the hydro company here. However, any extra electricity that he has produced, which is stored in the system, he can sell back to the power company for a profit. So that's great.
Ooh, yeah.
The only drawback is the initial investment to set up your house, to set your house up like. Love your show. Stay healthy.
Thank you very much. You too,
Yes.
Yola. Yeah, I could see that. I would think that there is like the initial investment would be, because I mean, there's got to be some catch, right? Or else we would all have solar panels on our roof, right, by now. So there must be some type of thing that makes it a little harder to actually start.
Yeah, and it's probably like Leola was saying, is that like initial,
Hmm.
where yeah, the initial investment to make sure you have everything and you meet the specs
Yeah.
and everything must be crazy. But
Yeah.
that's amazing that he's
Hmm.
selling it back to the power company and he's making money. So now he's basically like a small power company. I think that's amazing.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, so I mean, I don't know if everybody. I did not know I was, giving my husband heck for having putting the vegetables in those bags, and he said no, it's compostable. So then we've used that in our little under the kitchen sink, um, So I thought that was great, and
That's
that's an
awesome.
easy thing. Why isn't every grocery store? Why aren't we doing that?
Yeah.
That's
And
easy.
I think we have to see some of those bigger corporations um, kind of help us out on the individual level.
Hmm.
Again, just going back to that idea that what am I can do? It's one bag or it's
Hmm.
one bag every couple of weeks or whatever. But those really add up. So I think seeing companies like that take an initial first step and kind of show us how easy it actually is also
Hmm.
helps out too. But
Yeah, definitely. Definitely. I think about it's not necessarily plastic, but I know I don't know how many of our listeners are those little pod coffee drinkers, whether
oh
it's
yeah,
so we had a Tassimo. We sent it to my son when he went away to school, and then when he came back, he brought it back with him, and I enjoyed that, type of thing, but I felt guilty, I have to say. And not only um the packaging, like the fact that those pods, there was nothing, and I looked everywhere, there's nothing I could do to recycle the pod, but also the packaging, like to keep the coffee fresh, then it had to be in these really like aluminum kind of, vacuum packed bags that were then in cardboard. Like, oh my gosh, it was just so much material for a cup of coffee. That I finally I donated my Tassimo. We still have a Nespresso machine, which I'm happy. Nespresso, and every time you order new coffee, they give you this red bag, and you fill the red bag with old pods, and it's mail. So that's another company, Terra Recycling. So they recycle a lot of products. So definitely check out their website. It is TERRA Cycling. Um, so my Nespresso pods get recycled, but there's a lot of products that they also recycle, a lot of cosmetics, that type of thing. So, that was something hard for me to give up, but it was doable. I did see in the news, I think even just yesterday, that they've finally made Maxwell House, or I think it was Maxwell House, finally made pods that were compostable. And I know the
Oh,
Keurig, I think the Keurig machine where you could do it without a pod and you're just kind of refilling it. So there's been different modifications, that type of thing. But yeah, so that's just one of those small changes that I made personally. Because I mean, when even the Nespresso ones are much smaller because it's espresso as opposed to regular coffee. But man, those little pods, like we have a big, the big containers that like protein powder come in,
oh yeah.
right? So we have one of those under the sink, and like it's shocking how fast that fills up. Like it's like, oh my gosh, So it really does. Um, and TerraCycling looks like it is a U.S. company as well, and based in New Jersey. So that is good. So yeah, they do a lot of different free recycling programs. I think that's the coolest thing about that. So yeah, so definitely a shout out to them. So I think some of it is, more being more aware of what's out there. Don't you
Mhm.
agree?
I do agree. I do agree. Um, and Alice writes in, hi, the plastic debate will never go away, as you will never ever get rid of all plastic. The best news is to make alternative plastics that are recyclable and good for the environment. The
Hmm.
technology we have can do that, but there are way too many plastic entities that will never go away in our food containers and things you buy at the store, trying hard to open, right?
Hmm.
Um, we have all been there. Too many plastic parts in our lives, and I think I'm not talking. Sorry, I'm not talking straws or grocery bags.
Mm.
Yeah, taking two big ones out of there too. So
Yeah, definitely, definitely. Yeah, I agree. I think now that we have it everywhere, it's going to be hard to get rid of it everywhere. But I think the consumer has more pull than we think we do.
yes,
Those compostable garbage bags is one thing. Like, if we want it, and if we are choosing a store or choosing a product because of it, then I think that does resonate. I can remember one of my part-time jobs was at a grocery store growing up, and we were exclusively like paper bags, or we actually sold, like, you had to put a 25-cent deposit on a cardboard box, and like, so that was when it was slow in the store. That's what cashiers had to stand there and kind of put these cardboard boxes. They had tabs and handles, and they were like these cardboard boxes, and then you could bring back four, cardboard boxes, and then, get your buck back, kind of thing. So it was really cool. And I can remember when plastic bags became a thing, and I can remember everybody going, oh, this will save so many trees. Right? Like, really seeing the plastic was a better solution. And now we really know, how many 30 years later, not so much. But I just think like that would be such to go back and do. It was Camiso. Shout out to Camisos from anybody from the Niagara region. We did those cardboard boxes, and people, not everybody returned them. They used them for different things in their house, that type of thing. So yeah, so that was a throwback to the day where you did that kind of thing, or paper bags. I think there are some stores that I think Sobeys, didn't Sobeys go to paper bags?
one of them did.
Farm Boy has an
Yes they
option.
did. I go to
Yeah.
Sobeys and I get their
Okay.
plastic bags, and if you don't mind, I have my take on that. May I?
Sure. Yes,
Mm,
of course, Gary.
Okay. Back in the day, I'm a little bit older than you guys,
Yes,
and
yes.
when they
Well, no, I didn't mean it that way, Gary.
yeah,
Sorry.
no, for our listening audience. So, you know, the thing is, back in the day when we always had those nice paper bags and sacks, we could use those over and over again. I used them back in the day to cover my school books. I used them, I cut them down to use for other bags and store things. They were great. And everyone complained, the trees, the trees, the trees. And then when they went to the plastic thing, I remember as a young man, I said, this is nuts. This is not, because if you look at how these things recycle, it takes hundreds of years for some of this plastic. But at least with the bags, you're not really killing a lot of trees because there's such forestry programs in the world that trees are being regrown and taken care of and everything else. And it's good for the environment. If you're going to recycle bags, it goes back into the ground, and it's all, you know, it's good for the environment, paper normally, without chemicals or glue and all that, right?
Yeah.
But the point is, I thought it was a crazy idea back in the day to go to plastic. I said, you know what, this is nuts. We should stick with paper or go to something permanent like people have now, canvas and stuff, right? And now it's coming full circle. Everybody's going back to paper, and I think that's the better way to go for the world. That's my
it's funny
opinion.
that I guess I was of an age where that didn't even occur to me, Gary. Like I can remember I was on that bandwagon of like, wow, this is great. This is better for the trees. You know, we're saving trees by going, you know. But when I think back, like I wish my grocery store had the box option. That would
Right,
be
for
so much
sure.
handy because now we have plastic boxes. Like we're now like
Right.
our last listener, like we're still stuck with boxes or with plastic, right?
You know, paper's always better, and it will be if it's recycled and if the process is not using chemicals and things that would hurt the water table. And there's ways to do that because they can make pulp with just water and mud, basically. So the point is, you know, for the tree lovers out there, I'm a tree lover because we need tree lovers to breathe and for oxygen and everything else, you know. But the bottom line is, if they're going to do anything, plastic is not the way to go. You know, it's always better to have something more natural that we take out of the earth and put back in the earth. That's my opinion.
Yeah, no, I think we're learning. I mean, certainly deforestation is another whole issue. But yeah, I mean, I think there's, you know, there's more control there than how do we get rid of
For
these
sure.
plastic bags
Right.
that are going to last forever.
That's right. And there's people that have said, you know, I've read things online here and there. You don't know how true they are, but they kind of look right, that people did an experiment, scientists and stuff, and they buried plastic bags down under. And 30, 40 years later, they dig up and the bag is still there. It's discolored and everything, but the plastic's still there. So how is that helping? And then they do a thing where they say, now we're going to take paper and bury it and check it again in a few years. It's gone. It turned into mud and dirt. It's gone.
Yeah,
You know,
definitely,
so,
definitely.
you know, paper would be a better alternative, but we have to look at, you know, the trees and everything as well. So it's
for
always
sure.
a 50-50. You got to use your head. It's common sense,
Yes.
right?
Yeah. And there's money to be made. Like, I think I know 2 weeks ago, you know, just like there's money to be made in the other, like in the plastics and things like that, there is money to be made and business ideas. You know, we keep talking about the knowledge and things where we can now, you know, use these ideas to, it's a business is making money. This recycling company is obviously making money, but you know, if that's what it takes, then like, I don't know why to be an environmentalist, we're also supposed to be like poor or not make money, right?
Yeah, and that makes no sense, right?
Yeah,
so,
exactly.
But as far as plastic is concerned, plastic has been around since the 1800s. I don't think you're ever going to get rid of that. You can
For sure.
You can always minimize it to a lot, especially with composite. But composite has its own problems too. But you know, if people like your emailer, I got up to go to the bathroom, so I was started to hear an email. You had an emailer talking about plastic, right? When I was leaving, I think. Okay.
Alice had written in about never getting rid of plastic.
Yeah. Okay. So Alice is right to some extent, because forget about all the plastic we see with food containers and coffee lids and all that. Forget that. What about like plastics? Like, think about it. Like your vacuum cleaner poles, you know, you put together, everything is plastic. The plastic in your cars, the plastic that you guys might. What about the plastic containers that plants come in? You know, I mean, there's all kinds of So, you know what? It all comes down to using your head and having some common sense. That's what it
Mhm.
comes down to.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, and I think there's like the innovation, there's opportunity for innovation. I mean, they are recycling programs now for our pots. For our, most garden
Right.
centers will take the pots back and they are recycled or reused. So that's great. So I think there's some businesses that are popping up that are where you literally can go, like I think of Bulk Barn, or which, should really capitalize on this movement, but also where now you can take your container and you can weigh. This was pre-COVID, so I don't know what they're doing now, but you could take your container, empty, clean and empty, and weigh it, and then fill it with the spices or the sugar or whatever you needed, so that you weren't doing the bag and you weren't getting home, that type of thing. So that's a great thing. There's some other businesses where, like things like shampoo and laundry detergent, that you can go to them, you buy the initial jar, and then you can go to them and just refill your product. So there's another business called Green and Frugal. They've got so there's local businesses, I think, that are popping up that are doing. There's another one that she's at one of the clothing stores I go to all the time, and I could not find it on the website what her business name was. Um, so yeah, and I think my husband and I had this. So I'll show you the bottle, Matt. Where sometimes you don't need to buy. We're so used to buying the plastic container of the Windex and of the cleaning solutions, but there's a lot that have
Yeah.
gone to the option of buying. Oh my gosh, I'm right out of my head.
Concentrates or
Yes, thank you, Matt.
yeah.
Concentrates. And like, so we've got these jugs of concentrates that we got through this other program meat. Like, we bought frozen meat and we got all these concentrates as a promotion. And that was like, honestly, 3 or 4 years ago. And we have not, like, there is so little concentrate that you need for the water to put in this. And so we've got hand soap and dish soap and dishwasher detergent and cleaner, degreaser. We got all these different things. So I think there's a
And you have
lot
a
of
clean house because of it.
yes. So I mean, has it eliminated the Mr. Clean and the Windex from our house? Not quite, but almost. And so I think if we're looking for it and you're aware, that I think that's why we wanted to do this show, is to kind of start talking about what's out there. Because I think there are lots of businesses showing up that are where you can stop and refill your, you bought the jar once and now you can go and refill your dishwasher detergent. And so I mean, I know some people would argue, like, well, now you're spending extra gas to go to get refills or whatever, but I'm not saying it's perfect, but there's lots of opportunities.
Yes. Yeah. And again, like you said, just being aware of it, just being aware that there are alternatives out there, and they're just smaller changes that can save you money and make things last longer, or reuse or upcycle,
Hmm.
things like that.
Do we have another listener
No, no,
question?
but I was just going to say, just as we were kind of, as we're getting
I
closer to
know
the end of the
we
show,
have more to talk about, Matt, though.
we do. I was trying to remember where I heard it from, but it was CTV News, so ctvnews.ca. In their climate and environment, they on October 7th, uh, they did an article, Canada banning plastic bags, straws, cutlery, and other single-use items by the end of 2021. And they took
Excellent.
that commitment to remove all of that as well. So there's a cool article that has a lot of the details. So I just wanted to, that I remembered it, threw it in there. But
Yes.
yes, what else do we have to talk about at the
Well,
very end?
I think the other thing I found interesting was running shoes. That, did
Yeah.
you know? Like, so Nike will take back. Nike has a program for running shoes. Running rooms, all running rooms will take back old running shoes for recycling.
Ooh.
And there's also a charity called Shoe for the number four Africa, where we can send our shoes. If they've still got 1,000 kilometers on them, then that type of thing. Because I guess there's like the inner, like a lot of our shoes, the outside is falling apart, but the inside, that meth, I don't know what that chemical is. It's in the shoe. It's not gonna decompose, so it should be recycled properly. So I just think of how many running shoes over the years, like you think of even little kid shoes and things like that, right?
Just right in
I
the bin.
know, I know, and I know my foot doctor talked about like all those shoes that have like really squishy soles and stuff that are really comfy. But he said really they only last 3 months. Like he called them marshmallow soles. So yeah, they're super comfy, but I think people, go through them quickly because of that. Or runners, let's say that are real runners, go through their shoes really quickly. So to know that places like Nike or the running room, or I'm sure, look into other ways to kind of to think about that, like to forget, like I think of, oh, the running shoes just all fabric on the outside and laces and little bits of plastic and a little bit, but actually it's the stuff in the sole that cannot decompose. So recycling that is really important. So that was, in my little research for tonight's show, that was one of my big ahas, for sure. So I think it was a great topic. I hope our listeners enjoyed it. Matt, what do you think?
I think so. I think there's so much to talk about, and there's always
Mm.
ways that we can become more aware and reduce our carbon footprint and our plastic footprint, and just so many options. We could talk about this for
I know. Yeah.
forever.
Yeah. Well, I know, but please write in and let us know, even after the show's over, if this is something you want us to do a deeper dive in 2021. Matt and I are planning next year's season, so we'd love to get some feedback. You can always reach out to us at our own emails. I'm at Joanne at downtoearth.ca, and Matt.
Is naturalaffinitydesigns.ca.
And always they can reach us here at the instudio101 at gmail.com. Gary will send us that info.
That's right.
That's right. So, and we are continuing this conversation about climate next week
That's
as
right.
well.
We have Deborah Pearson is joining us next week. I think we're going to talk a little bit about the Climate Reality Project and gardening in the new era of climate change.
Excellent.
So, yeah,
Excellent. I'm
well,
excited
that should
about
be a
that.
good show.
Deborah participated in the Al Gore
That's
training,
right.
much like the Christine and Rose did. So I'm excited to hear more about that. I'm really intrigued by that by that training as well. So I'd love to hear if any of our listeners. I guess now with COVID, it's all virtually
Yeah.
virtual training as well. So yeah, so I just hope this gave people some ideas, some things to look into, things like Terra recycling and running shoe recycling, and lots of our makeup. The Terra recycling can take a lot of our makeup products, and I know there's some people that choose their makeup based on like MAC lipstick. They take the tubes back, EOS. Lip balm, they recycle the plastic back, that type of thing. So I think there is a place for the consumer, um, to make decisions and to drive trends.
Yeah, I agree. Like you said, we have much more power than we think we do.
Yeah, we do. We do. So yeah. So I can't believe the show's almost over.
It's all done basically. Wow. Yeah. What else do we? Anything
Yeah,
else you
waste
want to say?
reduction. Yeah, no, Waste Reduction Week Canada. So, take a look at that. I'm sure all our social media links have lots of information about that. So see what else is out there that you can learn about. And we'd love to hear more from you next week. Uh, you know, and or like I said, you can visit our our internet, our, oh my goodness, Instagram. So Down the Garden Path podcast on Instagram, or Down the Garden Path podcast on Facebook. And also comment or leave some suggestions or tips. We're trying to get better with Facebook, everybody, so be patient with us. But Instagram, we'd love to connect with you there as well. Yeah,
That's
so
right.
it's exciting. Oh, I wanted to mention that one of our listeners, I virtual design. So as the gardening season is winding down, nobody asked a lawn question tonight, Matt.
Oh, that's right.
We are here for your gardening questions if you have them. Then you can also post on Instagram or Facebook and ask us, or check out our past shows. But I did a virtual design for one of our listeners. So in this era of COVID, even for local designs, I'm doing a lot of virtually. So it is possible. So now is a great time to plan for 2021, your season. They are booking up because we've had so much overflow from this busy 2020 season where everybody's been home and wanting to do landscaping projects. So Definitely, early bird will get their landscaping done, and the people calling in February and March, I don't know. So now's a great time to call. So please, you can email us. If you're interested in finding out more about that service.
That's right. Thank you, Lisa, Peter, Shane, Yola, and Alice, for sending in your questions. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in tonight. And if you're listening via the podcast, you downloaded us as well. Thank you for the download. And we hope that you all have a wonderful week. And we look forward to talking to you next week. Thank you for joining us here down the garden path here on Reality Radio 101.
Thank you for listening to Down the Garden Path with your host, Joanne Shaw and Matthew Dressing, right here on Reality Radio 101.